Growing it is one thing, but preserving it is quite another. Today I'm going to bring you along for 24 hours at our house as we go through the garden, picking everything ready, take it inside, and put it away for the long haul. So if you're looking for some easy preservation tactics, hang out because I think you're going to love what we're about to share. I often hear from friends that they would love to garden, but simply do not have time to make it work in their daily life. With all their kids' activities and everything else that the summer holds, how could they possibly take the time to not just grow the food, but also to preserve it? I totally hear you. I actually have this same conversation with myself almost every year, but I'm working to get better at all of the things that go into making the harvest successful, but also into how I can put it away in the time that I have available, which is often very limited. Today I'm getting started right after noon, and I'm grabbing all of the cabbage that I wanted to pull a couple weeks ago when I brought you along for the garden tour. Yes, most of it has been eviscerated by bugs, but there are a lot of nice little heads left inside once I pulled off all of these extra leaves, which is my first step after bringing it all inside. The very first head that you're seeing here has the roots and stem attached. I was trying to just twist it off and it didn't work. So I went ahead and cut the rest of them right off the base because when you're doing a no-dig style garden, you want that organic material from the roots and stem left below the surface to help go ahead and add extra nutrients to your soil moving forward. So I did cut the rest of those off and then went through and cleaned all of the major damaged extra leaves away until I was left with just the nice little cabbage heads. The extra leaves that were left are bagging up and heading out to our compost pile that the chickens will go ahead and scratch through and help to create new compost for us for years going forward. While we do love cabbage, just roasted or cooked over on the stove, today I'm taking all of this cabbage and turning it into sauerkraut. It's a great way to preserve a lot of cabbage at one time, and even after all of the damaged leaves were peeled off, I still had over 7 pounds. In case you can't tell, I'm a big fan of cabbage, the colors, and just the overall design and beauty that comes along with it. So I have to take a minute every once in a while just to take a good look at it and show you as well what a beautiful creation that it is. Now, once all of the centers have been cored, I went ahead and washed them out really, really well. This allows all of the moisture to kind of wash down in between the leaves that are stuck together. Then after they had some time to set, flipped them back over so the water can drain out. All of those cores will go out to the compost pile as well, so nothing is wasted. Sauerkraut is one of the super easy things to make because you can fit it in the nooks and crannies of your day, and it doesn't matter if you end up leaving it salted in a bowl out on the counter for a little bit while you run off to do other things. So my first plan here was to attempt to run this through my food processor to help speed up the process because I was hoping to get it salted and into jars before we headed off to tonight's baseball game. After the first little head went through the food processor, I knew that is not what my husband and kiddos are going to be looking for as far as the texture for their sauerkraut. So I decided to go ahead and run my knife through it and take just a few more minutes to get the job done to make sure that our final product is something that everybody was going to love. Now, while I am turning my cabbage into sauerkraut, you can definitely store it just as the heads are. If you have a cold storage room, it will last for quite a while, and it'll even last for a good long time in your refrigerator. But for me and my crew, having that sauerkraut ready to go to add as a nice side dish to all of our summer meals coming up will be a really, really nice advantage. Now, as you can see here, I always have kiddos coming over to the cutting board to take a little snack. My guy is going to add some vinegar to his, while others are going to grab more in a little bit and add some coleslaw dressing to it out of the refrigerator, or even just eat it plain. I have found that the secret to kiddos willing to try anything is to be a mom or dad willing to try anything, number one, but also to let them take part in growing it, in harvesting it, and putting their hands on it. As for the cabbage, the last thing I did was go ahead and salt it and put some plastic wrap on it after giving it a stir, and then we ran off to the ball game. Because the sauerkraut will be fermented, there's no reason to even worry about refrigeration at this point, so it's a super easy one to just fill in the cracks of your day with when you have time to go ahead and fill those jars at a later point. Now, after the game was over, we went ahead and came back to pick the peas. We grabbed the shelling peas first, then headed over to the peppers. Now, my little one here is always ready to be my helper. She wanted me to hand every single pepper to her so she could put them in the bowl instead of me. But I love taking the extra time, even just to let them help in any way possible. After that, they headed over for the post-game snack, which are always sugar snap peas when they're available. While they were over in the sugar snaps, I headed to the green beans. Now, I originally planted just one pack of green beans over here, but I had lost a pack, reordered a second pack, and decided, I got space. I'll just go ahead and put them in. I knew I would have some to put away as a result, and I was super excited to go ahead and do that. Now, I don't know about your personal preference, but I have never in my entire life been a fan of canned green beans. Whether they are store or home preserved, I just don't like the texture. I feel like they're a little too soft for my liking. So today we're going to freeze these. But if you have another way to can them, or you figured out something that helps to keep that crunch inside of a canned green bean, I would love to know, because I do love putting things on the shelf instead of in the freezer when I can make that happen, when it doesn't compromise the texture or the flavor. The beans that I am growing are called Kalima, and they come from Baker Creek, which is rareseeds.com. I'm sure most of you are familiar with them, but I've always had really, really good luck with this particular bean. I've tried a few others in the past, and I just don't find that the texture or flavor are comparable to this style of bean here. So this is what we're going with on repeat. And as you can see, we ended up with 3 different full bowls before we made it in the kitchen for that first night. Now, I wanted to do a really heavy pick because I have heard that the more you pick on them the first time, the more likely they are to do a really good job of producing for you over the season. So we took any bean that was close to the right size before we were done for the evening. Now, before we head inside, I want to give you a quick update on my flowers. I have some beauties actually coming out right now. We have zinnias, cosmos, calendula. That's a strawberry calendula. It's just really, really pretty. And their flowers are everywhere on that thing. And then, of course, our nasturtiums. We have tons of colors, lots of variety. And I did a few marigolds around the end of a couple different tomato beds to try to help with companion planting as well as attracting the right pollinators. So far, no sunflowers have come out, but we do have a few of those that are getting ready to pop any day now. Now, I will add that we played the early baseball game on this specific day, but by the time we got inside from doing all of our picking, you can see the sun had went down. The cool thing is that the cabbage and the salt had sweat down just enough to where it had a really good amount of moisture, and all I needed to do was a quick knead on the cabbage before I went ahead and started packing it into the jars. The amazing thing about cabbage is just how much you can put into a jar when you add a little salt to help break it down a little bit. So I started with 7.7 pounds of cabbage before I took the cores out and before some thieves hit up my cutting boards. The final yield from my 2 huge mixing bowls full of shredded cabbage is going to end up at 3 quarts. Now, if you've ever made sauerkraut before, you know how this works. But if you haven't, I want to show you exactly what you need to do. So you put it into the jar and then you pound it down either with your hand, because you're using a wide mouth jar. You can push your hand down in there pretty far. I did it with my knuckles pressing it in the first time, but I didn't find that quite as easy or comfortable in my hand as I would have liked. So I hopped on over to Amazon to get one of the big wooden fermenting pounders to go ahead and jam everything down in those jars as tightly as you can. But once you fill them completely, you can compress it to about half of the full jar. So then you just repeat that process and you can see the juice just coming up around it. That's no added liquid whatsoever, just the cabbage and the salt making that juice. Now, once I get everything put all the way down in here, I kept out a few big cabbage leaves in the beginning. These act as a weight to keep everything submerged under that liquid as the fermentation process continues. Now, if you keep enough of those big cabbage leaves, you can go ahead and fill up the space really nicely and not have to worry about weights. But I already have a couple fermentation weights, which are just a glass weight, as you can see here, that are made to fit the size of the jar. They're really easy to pull out at the end because of the way the handles are shaped, but they are made to keep everything down under that liquid line. As long as everything is below the liquid line, you won't have any problems with molding of any sort while it's sitting out on the counter fermenting. You can just put a regular plastic lid on these and leave it popped up a little bit so the liquid can come out on its own. But I decided to go ahead and use my mason tops, which are made for fermenting, so I don't have to worry about burping them or leaving the lids ajar a bit, because the top of those jars is made to let all of the extra air and liquid escape from them without any problems whatsoever. The one thing I will caution you on is to make sure you're putting them on a plate or something with a nice lip, because you will be amazed at the amount of liquid that'll pour right over the top of any jar that you're putting them in. So plan for it. Otherwise, you'll have a really, really messy countertop. Now, before we went to bed, I went ahead and put my green beans into the refrigerator because I did not have it in me at that time of night to go ahead and get them frozen. So what we're going to do is go ahead and clean them up this morning. There is quite the mess here, and I have a little helper who could not wait to get her hands wet. She didn't even want to change out of her jammies before jumping into project status. So she's going to go ahead and give them a good rinse down while I go ahead and get out everything that I need to get them sealed up. I was trying to figure out the best way to freeze these because I know that blanching is recommended, but I did some reading and checked out a fellow YouTuber who went ahead and did an experiment on if blanching was necessary or not, and she found that she loved the texture more when she did not take the time to blanch the beans. Since the main reason I don't want these canned is to preserve the extra crunch and texture of the green bean itself, I decided to freeze these without blanching. We will eat these way sooner than a year, so I'm not worried about the super long-term sustainability of putting them away without blanching. So I think this is going to work out really, really well. In order to get them put in the bags, I did go ahead and cut off both ends. You really only need to make sure you're cutting off the stem end, but it was easier for me to just quickly go through and snap off all the ends than to make sure I was getting all of the stem ends lined up on the same end before I made the cuts. Now I'm going to just put them into some vacuum sealer bags and get them into the freezer. Now in my mind, I was going to use my little handheld sealer, which you can see back there. I love that thing, but when it came down to it, I decided to use a slightly larger bag, and in an effort to save time, I went ahead and got out my big chamber vac sealer, which will do the process a little more efficiently when you're doing a bulk of goods at one time. I also do have just some roll to create my own bags for vacuum sealing to make sure that I'm not wasting a little extra plastic. But when I'm trying to move fast, I love the pre-sized bags. Plus my vacuum sealer has a little gauge on it that shows which button to push for small, medium, or large bags. So this was just part of the process to expedite and get everything done as quickly as possible, since we had yet another baseball game on this specific day. You can see it gives a nice double seal and it vacuums out all of the air that's in there. And these beans will be perfectly sealed and put in the freezer for any meals that we have going forward. If you are looking for a sealer or just looking for a good bag resource, I will make sure to drop my links for Weedback down in the description. I do have a discount code for any of my viewers, so make sure to check them out. They have super high quality products and a really, really great price. With the green beans done, I turned my attention to the peas. Now, this is something very, very simple and relaxing and doesn't take much work or any appliances or any help whatsoever to accomplish. So I headed out to the front porch so I could watch the kids as they were playing in the yard. But it didn't take long before they found out where I was and what I was doing and decided they would rather help me and just be normal little hams than to go ahead and ride their bikes or play ball or anything else. So here's my first little helper, but can you see how beautiful those peas are? My goal with the peas was actually to can them. I know I said this is not a canning video, and I promise you I am correct. My little lady looked so involved and interested in what she was doing that big sisters decided to come and help. And it didn't take long before my little mermaid back there was shoving them in her mouth as fast as she could, and the others decided to join in. So what I thought might turn into a pint or two of peas did not turn into that at all. The peas ended up getting eaten rather fast, and some that were left headed off to a veggie tray. We did throw a few of them into a spring veggie dish that I will show you before this ends. But once they got to the bottom of the bowl, they decided to head back over to the garden and grab any more peas that they could find that might be ready to go, that they might have missed the night before. There weren't many, so we headed on inside and decided to work up the final thing that we picked the night before, which were our banana peppers. Now, traditionally at my house, banana peppers go straight into jars because my husband and my sons love them. They love them on sandwiches. They love them on pizza. They eat them all the time. But I still have a few jars left from last year because we canned quite a few, and my kids are just itching to get some peppers. My bell peppers are coming along nicely, but they are not quite ready. So this first round of banana peppers is going to be eaten rather swiftly, as you will see here. We did have quite a few, and many did end up making it to our vegetable tray, but there is no preserving of these. And I will say, I'm really a fan of eating in season when we can. Not only is the food at its peak of freshness, but it is at its peak of nutritional value as well before it gets heated and processed and any of the nutrients degrade along the way. As long as my kiddos are willing to eat it now, I'll take that every day of the week. One thing that we do love to keep around during the summer is a veggie tray going at all times. This was our first day to fill one up for the year, and the kids could not have been happier. Several years back, my mom actually gave me the vegetable tray that we still use today. I think it's an old Pampered Chef. If I can find a link to one similar, or even if they still make it, I will put it down below. It is invaluable to us during the gardening season. The green that you see here is a freezer layer that you can put in the freezer, and then everything stays really cold, which means that while they're snacking throughout the day and grazing, I don't have to keep it in the refrigerator to give them the temperature of food that they want. When it is out and easy to grab from, the amount of vegetables that we go through is really, really amazing. We also put cheeses in it from time to time, plus the summer sausage that we have made from the deer that are harvested in the fall every year, which allows a little layer of protein to go in there as well. The hard thing about this time of year is making sure we keep enough of that summer sausage thawed and enough of the vegetables cut up to keep them going all day, every day, because they cannot resist grabbing something when they walk by. Now, we did all of this before lunch, and as the crew was starting to snack on this tray, I decided to go ahead and get something going. Now, since I moved my cooking content to my other channel called Pantry to Plate, which I will make sure to go ahead and link down below, I wasn't planning to record what I was cooking, but I thought I would share a very simple side that I made with the delicious things that we plucked out of the garden on this specific day. If you are interested in more of my cooking content and want to see a lot of seasonal cooking, make sure to head on over to Pantry to Plate and subscribe. I think you will love what I have to share. And if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. It means more to new channels like mine than you will ever know. So I greatly appreciate each of you for stopping by today, and I'll see you back soon. Bye, friends.